Hey, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the National Childcare Owners Association monthly Childcare Chats. I'm super excited today about this topic because see, this topic is a topic that is really touchy. We don't really talk about the horror stories. But the Childcare Chats, the National Childcare Owners Association decided to dedicate this particular childcare chats to the horror stories that happens in childcare when it come down to workers' comp. You guys know that every day is not always pretty, and we don't ever want you guys to think so. So we're going to talk about the things that has happened and how you can prevent those things from happening in your childcare business. And I have some amazing guests on with me today, and I want to just welcome all of them on, and I thank them for joining me and the National Child Care owners for this month Child Care Chat. I'm super excited, and I hope you guys have your pen, have your paper, because we're gonna drop some nuggets and we're gonna have a candid conversation about horror stories. Y'all haven't heard the stories that we're gonna tell today, and I'm super excited. Super excited. We have Maxwell on with us today, the president of the National Child Care Owners Association. And Ray, you want to just welcome our guests in? I gave them a friendly welcome, welcome them in on our Child Care test. Is there something you want to say while we're waiting on our guests to come back in?
Yes. Thank you for welcoming me. And what better way to talk about the horror stories of what happened in the childcare industry than on Halloween Day? Boy, what a trick or treat we have all year round in the childcare industry. And not only is this a time to reflect on some of the horror stories that happen in our industry, this is also a way to how to live through our stories and how to prevent your child care center from going through the same things. And we're going to also give some great nuggets and tips on how to prevent these things from happening at your center so that you can have a safe, clean, and productive environment for your child care center. So we got lots of nuggets, and we can't wait to share those with you while we bring on our guests.
Yes, I want to welcome none other than Miss Sam Phillips. She on with us today to discuss the horror story. Sam, you want to say something to our guest on today?
Sure, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having us on. Thank y'all for letting Kristen and Crystal join also. We're excited to share some great information with you. We've gone through our claims list and picked out some great examples, and then also collaborated on some helpful tips to make sure that these types of scenarios don't happen in your facilities.
Yes. And Kristen, I want to welcome you, give you a warm welcome from the National Chakra Owners Association.
Thank you.
Welcome to our chakra chat.
Thank you. And thank you, Samantha, for asking us to join.
Yes, I'm excited. We wanted to have this conversation because, talking about the horror stories, the things that happen behind the scenes that nobody wants to talk about is something that we should normalize, because when you talk about things that has happened, it prevents them from happening to other individuals. So we wanted to shed some light on those things so we can help chapter owners that not aware of the things that can happen. Because if you've never experienced a horror story, you think that nothing can happen to you. You think you're untouchable. Because I used to think that I was untouchable, until I got in a lawsuit and I realized I was touchable. So we wanted to have this conversation because a lot of times chapter owners don't realize the magnitude of some of the things that can happen in this industry.
Absolutely.
So, Ty Harris, the executive director of the NCOA, has also joined us. Welcome to the stage, Ty Harris.
Now it's a party.
It's definitely a party, but we're gonna start this party. My first question is: what are some of the common types of accidents and incidents that occur in the childcare setting that could result in workers' comp claims?
Who wants to go? Samantha, you want to go?
Sure. The most prevalent types of claims that I see, without a doubt, are slip, trips, and falls, especially with little toddlers that creep up behind you like little ninjas. We know how sneaky they can be. But some of the most severe falls that I've seen are from teachers just trying to fall in a way that they're not injuring the child, so they don't fall naturally. So in actually trying to prevent harm, they end up causing more harm themselves. And then the other type of claim that I see regularly is strains of any kind. And that's from improper lifting, bending, or reaching. Any type of strain, slip, trip, or fall, those are the most frequent claims that I see.
Wow.
Excellent.
Those have been
All right,
going
well-
on forever.
Okay, great,
You wanna
great.
comment
Well,
on that one?
oh no, I wanted to go. I had a quick question for Miss Teller, if you don't mind
Sure,
me asking her.
sure.
But that was a great point. That was a great point from you, Sam. But Miss Teller, can you share some real life examples of workers' compensation claims related to childcare horror stories
So
that you've encountered?
sure, I can tell. So here's one of the that happens a lot, but is very simple, I think, to avoid, and that is teachers that literally continue to run into cabinet doors that are left open, and they have a laceration to their head. It's nonstop. That happens a lot. I feel like when you're in a cabinet, finish what you're doing, close that cabinet door, continue what you're doing, and move on about your business. But the lacerations to the heads from running into cabinet doors is, I feel like, a simple fix. What I've come up against here lately that I've never ever seen in the last 17 years of doing this is parent altercations. The parent is getting news that their child is being disenrolled in the school probably because they're out of control. And the parent is not happy about it and has literally caused a concussion to the director. This happened 2 weeks ago. So then the director is out of work. She's also filed a work comp claim because she is now has a concussion. I have another one the same week at a whole different location, different state. A teacher was given a report to the parent that they didn't want to hear and was also attacked and has had to file a restraining order against that parent now. So it's turned, I mean, it's just, I don't even know how you avoid that type of stuff other than maybe your first clue of disenrolling them, do that right then and there, and maybe not give them the first, second, and third chance of doing something different, but go ahead and disenroll them the minute that you start thinking something might be up. Because I feel like after COVID, people are crazy and literally just on edge.
Don't ignore the red flags, definitely.
Yeah, we're just ready to go off. And so, any type of, if you can just avoid this altercation that is apparently a new thing, but maybe more common than I'm aware of because this is very new to me. I would just say the minute that you have something go off in your head, the light bulb goes off of this might be a problem, go ahead and take care of it right then and there. And don't wait until, it gets real ugly and you have a director or teacher that is now out of work or, it's ugly. So that's scary.
Wow, that
Yes,
is
that horror stories. That's definitely a horror story. When you ignore the red flags of the signs when it comes down to parents, it will cause you more harm than good. I had recently just happened a few months ago at one of my newest locations, a parent first day.
Oh gosh.
First day, and it was a language barrier because she spoke Spanish. And she called the police. The situation got out of hand. It was the first day. And after that, she wanted to come back the next day. I said, no, ma'am. Because if you took this one situation so far that you call the police and you wouldn't even allow us to talk, to explain to you what happened, you're definitely not going to be able to be a part of our program. The child was having temper tantrums, and when they have temper tantrums, they fall out. He kept falling out with his temper tantrums. He was just throwing himself on the ground. And it was his first day. And so the teachers was trying to get accustomed to that because he kept doing it all day. And he had these little bruises on his arm from falling. He kept falling, throwing himself down. And the director called her. She emailed her. She sent her a text message. All of the protocol, they followed all of the proper protocol. So when she came, he had these marks. And the director was like, no, no, no. Nobody did anything to him. He kept throwing himself on the floor. And, he was bruising every time he hit the floor. And the mom called the police. When I tell y'all, it went left so fast. I didn't let her back in my school because I felt like if you took this one situation where we had crime scene, we had the police out there, it went so far in 5 minutes. So I was like, I don't even know how this happened on your first day.
Oh my gosh.
That escalated quickly.
Yes. Yes.
And I can tell you that when they start acting like that, when the children start kicking and just acting crazy towards the staff member, that's another workers' comp claim. I have seen about 3 of them lately to where the kids have kicked the instructor in the face and they've had to get stitches.
Wow.
So be careful.
Yeah,
these kids are crazy.
Yeah.
Kristen and I were back and forth earlier today. Now that we're seeing more behavioral issues in the classroom, I think we're definitely going to start seeing more work comp claims caused by children to your team members, as if it's not hard enough for you to keep staff. Now they're being assaulted by the little people.
Right.
So I think we're going to start seeing more work comp claims stemming from children injuring employees.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, when you think about, that increasing, workers' comp claims increasing because they're being hurt by the students, like what advice would you give to a childcare owner to try to prevent, that from happening? Because like we said, we're dealing with aftermath of COVID. And it's like it did something to these children. And so we're all dealing with it. But I want to encourage the childcare owner that's listening, that's saying, listen, my teachers want to quit because they keep getting kicked and bitten by these children, but I don't want to get a workers' claim, because this keep happening. What advice would you give them?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what the law even allows you to do to the children these days.
I don't know that it does,
Because
because y'all are stuck in a really difficult situation.
Right.
You can't restrain them, or you can restrain them only certain ways, but that's still not going to 100% prevent injury from happening, whether to you or that child. So I think it boils back to the safe answer is look for those red flags again. If there's behavioral issues, violent behavioral tendencies, I mean, I feel like we're going to be in a situation where you're going to start disenrolling like your entire enrollment. But I mean, you've got to protect your employees and you've got to protect the other children in your care. So if you start seeing violent tendencies from 1 or 2 kids, don't ignore those, closely monitor it. And I would say maybe a second chance, but don't, like Kristen mentioned earlier, 3rd, 4th, 5th, it's only a matter of time before that becomes a serious issue. And you don't, whether it's an employee injury or it's a lawsuit because, one of your team members did the smallest thing that was trying to protect them, protect other children, protect that child, and it caused a bruise, and now you have a liability lawsuit.
Wow.
Don't ignore those violent tendencies.
Okay, so Sam, how does workers' compensation insurance protect the child care providers and the employees in the event of an accident or injury?
So workers' compensation specifically, most policies have two coverage parts. You have what's called workers' compensation, which covers benefits to employees like compensation for lost wages if they're out of work for an extended period of time, or access to medical care. It'll pay their medical expenses for an accident or injury or illness. But a lot of people don't realize that there are actually two coverage parts you need for work comp. Work comp covers what I just mentioned, but then there's also employer's liability. So tying back in with what we were just discussing, employer's liability is the piece that protects you as the employer from employees' claims against negligence or intentional acts. So let's say in the circumstances with the children, like we were just using, if a child that had violent tendencies was not disenrolled and an employee was injured, but you didn't have employer's liability built into your work comp policy, that employee could potentially sue you saying that it was an intentional act or negligence that you didn't disenroll that child and it led to them getting injured.
Wow.
I have
Oh, no.
for the national. My question is that of policy. Do P&P prevent or circumvent?
Excuse me, Ty, can you repeat the question? You went in and out a little bit.
Does P&P policies and procedures is that an employer's way around a legitimate or a perceived legitimate workers' comp claim if they have something in their policies and procedures that specifically excludes that employee from doing that act, and that employee took it upon themselves to do that act anyway? Does that keep you from having a workers' comp claim?
No.
It does not. And I actually have an example of that. I had a franchisee in Oklahoma who, part of their policy and procedure, one of the field trips, they can take the kids to the trampoline park. And in their policies and procedures, the employees are not to participate and jump on the trampolines. This employee did it anyways. It cost the employer a $65,000 work comp claim. The employee was out for months due to physical therapy. So no, your policies and procedures will not prevent a work comp claim. Technically, if an employee is injured in the scope of work, now you can try and fight it, but that's the reason that you have work comp in place to begin with. The only thing that I've seen in work comp insurers really push back on is truly fraudulent claims. So if you have an employee that comes to you and says they hurt their back 2 months ago, there were no witnesses, there's no video footage, or maybe there is video footage and you go back to the day and time they said that they think they hurt themselves and there's nothing on the camera. They don't, there's literally zero evidence whatsoever. Insurance companies are starting to investigate those a little bit further. They're not just taking the employee's word for it. But when it comes to your policies and procedures, if an employee intentionally does something that they're not supposed to, your work comp policy will still cover it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow.
There's a
That's
lot of
very
fraudulent
interesting.
claims going on.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because I don't know if Daphne shared earlier, but that was our introduction into workers' comp. Is that an employee violated one of our fees, and we thought we were covered based off that policy procedures. We had to go through this elaborate thing going to court and everything. That person got a 6-figure judgment against us, and that particular judgment, we tried to tie it all to the fact that person had something ongoing, and because that person claimed that it occurred at work, we had to literally pay for this person's medical bills as well as several surgeries that were already on the books before that person claimed to have that injury at work. These were already on schedule, on her medical schedule. So that's why I was wondering about that.
I hate to hear that. I will say though, if you have situations like that, people are not the brightest, especially with social media. So if you suspect fraudulent claims, be active on their social media pages. Check Instagram. If they're claiming that they injured their back due to work comp, and then you see them skiing at the lake on the weekends, screenshot that, save it, send it to the insurance company, because that will help with your investigation.
Yeah, that person
So
had a little coaching because that person did it on the way. So we were like, oh, coming back to work. Go ahead.
So what I was gonna say, relative to what the story before we move to the next question, we did try to do that, but I didn't respond to her social media, but my employees did. My employees told her on social media, "You supposed to be hurt, you faking," and they went back and forth with her on social media. And so it became a word war on Facebook and
no.
Messenger and all of that. I had to pay her $75,000 because my staff was going back and forth with her on social media. And she turned around and said that
so now she's feeling harassed.
Yeah, you don't talk to them, just screenshot it.
So
don't engage.
I learned from that, if they had not responded and said anything to her, I wouldn't have lost the case, because the judge said, well, the owner never said anything, but the staff did. And she turned and said, well, she was bullied and she was intimidated. So that's why she couldn't come back to work, because it was a hostile work environment.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it mushroomed quickly.
Yes.
So when we're talking about, all of those type of workers comp, and you're looking at their social media plays, just make sure we're not responding. Like Christian said, just take a picture. That's it.
That's right. Don't harass them.
Don't respond to any of it. The next question is, are there any specific liability concerns or challenges that childcare providers face when it comes to workers' comp claims?
So back to the workers' comp and employers' liability. Most agents know to package that in together, but I would say one of the concerns and challenges that you might face, especially if you have a lesser experienced insurance agent, or maybe you're letting a cousin or friend or somebody that recently got their license, and now all of a sudden they're trying to quote everybody that they can. Be cautious and leery of new agents. Really vet out an agent, because if they don't know, with most of our carriers, it's a matter of just checking the right box to make sure that both of those coverages are included. But like monopolistic states, for instance, North Dakota, Ohio, Washington, and Wyoming, those 4 states, you have to buy coverage through the state, but it's only workers' compensation coverage. It does not include employers' liability. So for providers in those 4 states alone, you have to add what's called stopgap coverage to your general liability policy in order to close that gap. So that's not having an experienced agent that knows something like that could really put you in a hard situation.
Wow. I hope if you from any of those states that she named, you write that down so you can check your policy. Because I just learned something new right there. So if you in any of those states, I hope you guys check your policy. Because that was a great gem right there, Samantha.
Yep.
Christian, you have anything to say on that question?
My concern is that just because you're in Texas and you don't have to carry work comp, you need work comp. Because you can add a teacher to your accident medical policy if you have one, and that'll just cover their medical. That's all that's going to cover. That doesn't cover if they sue you. That's not going to cover any lost wages. just the medical. And when you tell somebody that they're not going to get paid for being out of work when they get hurt because of work, they're not going to be happy with you. And the next thing you know, you're going to have a liability claim.
Wow. So
2000% support that.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So Christine, are there any particular safety measures or protocols that you recommend childcare providers implement to minimize the risk of accidents and injuries?
Yes, I would recommend that they go on and print out this early childhood education lifting. It's called Lifting Techniques, and this needs to be posted in every cabinet door, every classroom, everywhere.
And where can you find that at?
I've literally just Googled it because this is a big thing, but most of it, the work comp carriers will have several safety, applications or stuff that you can print out, videos that you can watch. There's just videos everywhere. OSHA has stuff, the Work Comp Commission has stuff, Texas Insurance has stuff. They're everywhere, videos of safety and how to pick these children up, because back strain is expensive. It goes on forever. They're out forever. When they come back, they can't do anything. You have to find a place for them. I mean, it's ongoing. It just never ends.
Great.
And I'd like to,
as long as a doctor continues to say that you're hurt, whether you are or not, if the doctor says you are and that claim is 3 years old, it can go on as long as they will continue to treat you.
Great.
And I want to add to that, reviewing those. So not only implementing proper training or proper lifting techniques in your program, but reviewing them at least quarterly. The turnover in childcare is extremely high. So if you are a provider that does just a once a year training, well, all those new hires that are now in your facility might have missed that. Don't make them wait another 9, 10, 11 months before you review that. That needs to be at the forefront of all your employees' minds. Proper lifting that was on my list as well. It causes some of the most costly insurance claims, and it's an easy prevention. So making sure not just to implement proper lifting techniques, but to also review it with your employees on at least a quarterly basis, so it's staying at the forefront of their minds and they're seeing it regularly.
Yes.
So those lifting
techniques, probably sign off on this. I'll be like, pass this out. Please put your signature that you read this.
It couldn't hurt.
When you're talking about the lifting, one of the highest costly claims in lifting, is it lifting items in the classroom or just lifting the children?
Mostly it's children. They picked up children, and somehow, it's just random. I hurt my back, and it's because they're just lifting them incorrectly. So
bending over to lift instead of using a full body weight to lift, not squatting down, just bending to pick up. But bending, reaching, and lifting it's always around lifting children or not doing it the correct way.
Y'all hear that? Lifting children. So you're going to go online. You're going to look up lifting techniques, create a document, a training, so they can sign and date it and add it to your agenda quarterly to ensure that they're using the right lifting techniques. So I hope y'all writing that down, because I'm adding it to mine quarterly, because I don't have it on there quarterly. We do it twice a year, but I'm adding it quarterly because you said children, and they lift them kids a lot in the toddler room and in the infant room. Those are 2 high risk areas.
Yes.
I have a quote that you can use. Use your knees to give your back some ease.
Yes. Yes. There you go.
Yes, write that down.
Yes. Use your knees to give your back some ease. There you go.
I've got another quote to add to that that's also stemming from this. Look before you step. Look down to see if
There you
there's a
go.
spill there. Look behind you to see if there's a child there. Look in front of you or above to make sure there's not a cabinet door you're about to hit your head on and need stitches from. Just be observant. Know what's around you. Know who is around you. Who's under your feet. Just look before you step.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Now, it's a lot of new child care owners that's on this chat, and they're new to dealing with workers' comp. So I want to ask you, can you provide some insight into the process of filing a workers' compensation claim in the child care industry? Are there any unique aspects to consider?
We direct them straight to the carrier. We don't deal with anything here in our office. I have a sheet for each carrier that I email to them with their policy number, and they're very great. Once they contact them, they just kind of walk them through the claims process, and I never get a call back from anyone. So very easy.
Yeah, and I also direct to the carrier's website. With work comp, I can't think of a single carrier that doesn't allow you to report the claim online. So I would say, as long as you know who your insurance company is, I deal with a lot of providers that have absolutely no clue who their insurance company is or what they're insuring. So I would say at least know that, so that if you can't get a hold of your agent, or if your agent isn't responsive enough, you don't want to sit on that until your agent responds. I know some agents can take up to a couple of weeks to get back with you, and that's not okay when you have a claim to file. So know who your work comp company is. You can easily, insurance company, you can Google employers report a work comp claim, or employers file a claim. Same with Hartford, same with Markel. All of those companies allow you to report those claims online. So definitely let your agent know, but I would say don't sit and wait for them to respond. Unless they respond immediately, go ahead and go straight to the insurance company website and report that claim.
Excellent. Yeah, because it's a lot of providers that don't understand the importance of having workers' compensation insurance. And so just to carry on from that subject, what are some of the common misconceptions that some child care providers might have about workers' comp insurance and its coverages, to better inform them?
So I think most providers think that just because they have workers' comp insurance that they're protected from every lawsuit from an employee. That's not the case at all. Work comp and employer's liability, even though that's hand in hand in most cases, if done correctly, those coverages are just stemming from a work-related injury. And employer's liability is also very similar to another insurance coverage that you guys need called employment practices liability. They are two very different and completely separate coverages. They just sound similar. So employer's liability is not employment practices liability. Employment practices liability is a type of coverage that protects you as the employer from employee claims against you for things like wrongful termination, failure to promote, that director or assistant director was passed up for the director position, whistleblower retaliation, harassment, discrimination, those types of accusations against you as the provider or center owner require employment practices liability. Work comp is not designed to protect you from all employee lawsuits.
That's a good point, Sam, because a lot of times owners feel like, oh, I have workers' comp or I have liability that it covers everything. Because if a worker get a very smart attorney, they would sue you in several different areas, because I was sued in 6 different areas by one person.
Wow.
Yeah. As an agent, one of my biggest pet peeves is, oh, I have liability insurance, I'm good.
No, you're not.
There are so many different types of liability insurance that all of you need just for the nature of the business that you operate. Liability insurance is like your basic general liability. It doesn't cover anything. It excludes pretty much everything that you need to really be protected. So I cannot stand that, oh, I have liability, I'm good. No, you're not.
You're not good. You're just getting started.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I have a question. It may take up order of things, but it's a question. In our state, we're only required to have workers' comp to a particular level of the number of employees. Does that absolve you if you're not at that level where you according to state laws that you have to have workers' comp insurance? Does that absolve you from workers' comp claim if someone gets injured at work? How does that?
Can you repeat the first part?
Yeah,
You were cutting
you're having a
out.
little technical difficulties.
Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so in our state, we have a particular number of employees that you have before you must get workers' comp. 5 employees. So if I was in a state where it had that type of language, my workers got injured before I made it to that level, would I still have liability where the workers' comp is?
No, okay, so I think you're breaking up again, but I think I got the gist of the question. Let me rephrase just to make sure. In your state, you're saying that y'all are not required to carry work comp until you have 5 employees. So if you have a work comp claim, or if you have an employee that's injured before you reach 5 employees and actually have work comp in place, does the liability policy cover you until then?
No.
No. No. And that actually, so it ties in with our next panel question around, legal requirements or regulations that childcare providers must adhere to when it comes to workers' compensation. Every state is different, and you need to know what your requirements are. But most states, whether you have, the requirement is usually like 3 or 5 employees before you have to carry work comp. That's just the mandate for when it's necessary. When you hire that first employee, or before they set foot, especially if you're a new venture and you're opening your doors for the first time, before that director steps foot in your facility, you need to have work comp in place. And the work comp rates, everything is expensive right now except work comp. The rates on work comp are reducing. You're going to see property and auto increases like crazy, but the work comp is really, really low right now. So work comp is cheap, and it can grow with you. So making sure that if you just have one employee and their annual salary is, $40,000, well, then you're only paying premium on that $40,000 for that one employee. As you grow and you get to 5 employees, your exposure is going to increase and your payroll is going to increase. So then your premium will go up. But you can get a cheaper work comp policy just for that one employee right out the door.
Yep.
So for family childcare owners that's on, for new childcare owners that's on, that's saying, I don't have enough employee, you just heard it from the expert. If you have at least 1 employee, you should make sure that you have workers' comp to cover yourself. Because I hear a lot of family childcare owners saying they don't need workers' comp because they're in their homes. And to be honest, I was a family childcare owner at one point too. I came from family before I became a multi-site owner, and I did not have workers' comp when I was in my home because I didn't think that it was something that I needed, because I felt like the insurance that I had on my home was enough. But if something had happened, I would have been up, what. But I'm so glad that now we're putting ourselves in a position where we know what we need. So if you're a family childcare owner and you're on here, I want you to make sure that you're listening, because this conversation today is not just for center owners. I want you to know that you have to put yourself in position to run a business even when you're at your home, not waiting till you get to a commercial center, because you have to protect yourself at all costs, even when you're at your home. So Sam, I am so glad that you drove that point home, because family childcare owners a lot of times feel like they don't need everything that centers need, because I'm small, it's just me, I'm just in my house right now, I don't need all of that. But
on
your home,
on that point,
your homeowner
ahead, Kristen.
doesn't cover your business run out of your home either. So there's your other issue. So they're going to say, oh, you didn't even notify us that you were running a business out of your home. So yeah.
Yeah. And then I want to add to the point about a lot of providers feeling like, well, they're small, they don't need it. Licensing. If your state, Tennessee, I come up against this all the time. Well, my state doesn't require that I carry that insurance, so I don't need it. I only need what the state tells me I need. Please, 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 if you hear nothing else I say today, get that framework and that mindset out of your mind completely. Licensing is, they are trying to do their best by making sure that you have some insurance in place, but they are not licensed agents. They are not experts on insurance. Just because they have a minimum list of what's required does not mean that that is all that you need to protect yourself and your business.
Right.
Okay, so how do we come up with a balance? How can childcare providers ensure that they have adequate coverage for potential workers' compensation claims without overpaying for insurance?
They need to contact an agent who specializes in their business and knows what they need and is familiar with the claims. So yeah, again, what Samantha said, childcare licensing has a minimum standards of what you have to run a business. They're not protecting you from losing your business. So one claim, an abuse claim, when you have $100,000, $300,000 limits, you literally might as well close your doors because you're going to be out of business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not protected at all.
Yeah, that's my number one point on that also is vet your agent. How long have they been in insurance? How long have they had their license? How many childcare providers do they work with to figure out if this is actually their specialty? Do they have any references that they're willing to share? Ask in Facebook groups. There's 10 million childcare provider Facebook groups out there. Ask your friends who they use, who they recommend. And then call that agent and ask your own questions. All agents are not created equal. So vet them out and figure out if that one is that agent knowledgeable, because they'll be able to help you find the best coverage for the most affordable prices. But again, work comp is really cheap right now. So that's a bonus for anybody that doesn't already carry it. There's really only 3 limits to choose from when it comes to workers' comp coverage. There's your minimum limits, which are 100,000, 300,000, 100,000, then 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. You only have 3 options when it comes to work comp limits, unless it's a special carrier that does 2 million and up. The cost difference between minimum 100,000 limits and 1 million, it's like $300 annual. It does not really move the needle. It's a very 10 times more coverage, and you get 10 times more coverage for like $300 more a year. But maybe you really need that $300 more a year in your pocket. Okay, it is what it is. The next thing to look at then is your payroll exposure accurate? Because work comp premium is 100% driven based on your estimated payroll. And this is another pet peeve of mine. I review a lot of policies and see agents manipulate the payroll exposure so that it makes your bottom line look better. They can present you an option and say, hey, my overall package is, $5,000 per year. Well, it's because they underestimated your payroll just to make the work comp look cheaper, to drive everything down. Shady Agent Chronicles. I don't know if y'all seen me post about that, but that's something like I cannot stand it. You need an honest agent that is going to accurately report what your payroll is. If they're overestimating, then you're overpaying.
Right.
If your payroll is estimated at $1 million, well, you're paying premium on a $1 million annual payroll, but you may only actually have 500,000 payroll. Making sure that payroll exposure amount on your work comp policy is accurate is going to help prevent you from overpaying.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So
we are talking.
You're breaking up again, Todd.
Yeah. Owners exempt themselves from workers' comp policy.
What?
You
I
got
heard
bad
exempt
reception.
themselves from work comp.
Should owners exempt themselves from work comp, or should they?
You can. You can be.
Should
yes.
they?
Yeah. Should or should not?
Should they?
Do you have
So
health
it
insurance?
depends. It's a
Yeah.
case by case basis. Some
Right.
usually owners exclude themselves, but they have health insurance in place. The only time that I've seen providers opt to include themselves, if it's not state mandated, because there are select states that just automatically include owners. It would save you money on your policy if you exclude yourself, because you're taking any salary draws out of that payroll estimate. However, if you don't have any health insurance in place and you're walking through the hall one day and you slip on a spill, I mean, you may need work comp to be able to provide some kind of medical coverage for you. So it really just depends on the situation that you're in.
Okay. Good. Daphne, you had a question?
Since we're talking about, we have a few more minutes before we close out, and we're talking about horror stories. I know you guys have some, Christian, Sam. I know you guys have some stories that you can share with our listeners on things that has happened, because I want them to know that this is serious, that it is real, that horror stories do happen. Could you share with our listeners some things?
Can Christine go first?
My big horror story is really the parent altercation. That is new. That is very scary to me. That parents have actually decided that it's okay to cross that line and physically put your hands on someone that you literally are entrusting to take care of your children all day. It's just crazy to me. The other stories are, the people that are coming in, and since the COVID, they come in and they work their jobs for 2 weeks and they've decided that you've discriminated against them, or that they hurt their back when they really didn't hurt their back there. Again, like what Samantha said, there's no witnesses. Nothing happened. No one saw. They didn't report it until they came in 2 days later and, I hurt my back the other day. I always tell people, find witnesses, get documentation as much as you can for when you talk with this adjuster and you have this information, because I have seen some of them actually, go to mediation and they are able to get out of this because they do have documentation. The director has, written everything down that they've done, but these people know that they can come in, they can start a job, that you have work comp because you have to post it. And they can just say that they got hurt and they're going to get paid. They go to the doctor and the doctor's going to say, oh yeah, you're hurt, stay home for whatever. They're getting free money from you. And they don't have to work. They're just getting paid to sit at home and do nothing. And there's literally nothing you can do about it if you have no documentation. But if you do have documentation and you go to mediation and you can prove these things, this person kind of will finally go out on their own and say, okay, okay, and they'll go off. But if you have nothing to protect yourself, if nobody's saying anything, paying attention, document everything. I don't care what it is, what's happened. Somebody says something, does something, it doesn't look right. Tell somebody, say something, don't just go on your way. So.
Yeah. Kristen mentioned posting notices, and I completely forgot to touch base on this, but it's really important. The posting notices, those posters that the work comp insurance company sends out, or maybe your HR company provides them, make sure you post those in a conspicuous location, break room, office, somewhere that every employee has access to, because certain states have penalties for those. Like California, for instance, charges up to $7,000 per violation, and failing to post work comp notices is considered a misdemeanor offense. So make sure you are posting those notices that come in from the work comp insurance company. You're not just tossing them in the trash or the shred pile.
Right. Yes.
Sam, you had a story?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple that are work comp. They're not really horror stories, but one of the severe ones I've got right now is an employee fell and broke her hip. The estimated cost right now is $136,000. Their total premium per year is about $1,300. So they're probably going to see quite a bit of an increase by the time it's all said and done. When a surgery is required, and of course this all depends on the physicians, there's no guarantee that it's going to be a one and done. This employee may end up having multiple surgeries plus the physical therapy that's involved. She's going to be out of the office for a really long time. So that 136,000 claim estimate is just going to continue to grow the longer that she's out of commission. So that's the worst work comp claim that I've got right now. The other one I mentioned earlier, $65,000 work comp claim for an employee jumping on the trampoline on a field trip that wasn't supposed to be jumping on the trampoline to begin with and was under strict orders not to. Those are the most ridiculous work comp claim I've ever seen is a claim being filed for a bee sting. A bee.
If you're allergic.
Oh, wow.
If you're allergic.
Oh, wow.
They weren't allergic.
Oh.
They just didn't want to work that day, so they
They're
needed to go to the doctor and seek medical treatment.
Yes. Yes.
Well, let me ask. Wow, that was a crazy story. Let me ask. Can you offer any advice or best practices for childcare providers to mitigate the risks of workers' compensation claims and create a safer environment for their employees?
I'll let you go, Sam. I wish I had
So
a
one of the things that I did, and this was long before I found a career in insurance, or I guess the insurance career found me. I worked at Walmart many, many years ago, and we were having issues with recurring claims, slip, trip, falls mostly because spills on the floor and whatnot. And so the store manager pulled me aside and he said, so we need a safety team and I want you to head it up. And I'm like, okay. So it's funny that back then I was appointed as the lead like risk management for the store and had no idea that I would eventually work in insurance. But one of the things that I did was implement basically 30-day marks every 30 days, little things that would incentivize all the employees as a whole that we could collectively work together to achieve that goal. So like the first 30 days was something small, maybe like Sonic drinks. The next 60-day mark, and this is days being accident free. So if the entire store, all the employees in that store made it 30 days accident free, well, then we got Sonic drinks. If we made it to 60 days accident free, maybe we got 5 minutes extra of break time. If we made it to 90 days, maybe we got to wear jeans if you're a facility that typically does scrubs or, some other kind of uniform. But just small, inexpensive, little items like that to help incentivize the team and also get them working together. What it did was change our mindset. So employees started looking out for things that would make the work environment unsafe. Everybody started carrying these, their little pocket absorbent pads. They have like this absorbent gel in them, and we would all carry them in our pockets. And so if we saw a slip, instead of waiting for somebody to come and rescue us from that spill or, run and get paper towels or something to clean it up, we already had the tools on us ready right then to go ahead and clean it up ourselves to prevent either another employee from slipping and falling or a customer. So just little things like that. And then I think for our 1 year mark, there was a co-manager that nobody liked. And I somehow convinced him to let us wax his very hairy legs. And that was enough to get everybody in the store on board. So just, know your team, find the right person that you think will really take that challenge of creating a safety team and give it a more glamorous name. Yeah, make it fun. What would help incentivize them to work together to create a safe work environment, to start looking for spills on the floor and cleaning it up. Things like that would be, that's really my only recommendation on something you can implement to help mitigate the risk.
Wow.
Great idea. We did that stuff at Home Depot too.
Excellent.
Kristen, you have anything you will advice that you will give?
I say the same thing. Just recognize that, hey, we've kind of gone with no claims 30 days, because here's another thing that I would like to add. We can't tell you not to have work comp claims, but when somebody just cuts their finger or bumps their head and needs stitches and they need to just run down to the emergency and just have a few stitches put in, pay that out of pocket and don't file those little bitty claims. I have an insured right now who has 6 claims. 4 of them paid out nothing and 2 of them paid. He literally is non-renewed. I mean, the carriers are looking at your frequency more than the dollar amount. 6 claims at a total of $326 and they non-renewed. So don't file, a back or, something serious. Please take care of that and protect yourself and that employee of yours. But something that's so little as a bump on the head or a burn or, I burned my hand on the stove or something, just pay those. Pay those out of your pocket and just go on about your business, because it's going to save you in premiums, and your carrier is going to save your carrier, and you will be able to have your work comp marketed with all carriers. So do that. And
that's good advice.
That's a great point, because we send our employees to our medical facility. We have a contract with them,
right.
And they call us and they decide. They help us decide which ones are worth claiming and which one that's not. So
That's
we
great.
have an open account.
Yeah.
So they just charge our account for those who, we don't need to file on our workers' comp, and we just pay it that way. And then those who they say, well, hey, this person is going to need further, testing, and they're going to need this and they're going to need that, we're going to have to file this on our claim. But
Right.
some things they just document it and charge us for it in our account, and we have, however many days to pay it off, versus as us filing everything on our workers' comp policy. So I would advise, business owners to create you an account with, a medical facility where when you send them to get checked out, you guys can have a relationship, whereas they can assist you in what claims to file and what not to file, because they're the ones that help you file them. And they say, well, oh, it was just a strained muscle, or it was just a bruise, and you'll just pay the bill for that instead of us filing this on our claim. I think when you build those relationships, it'll also help you cut down on so many frivolous claims.
Yes.
That's an
That's
excellent
great.
point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like Kristen said, we can't, as the agent, we cannot tell y'all whether or not to file the claim. So to establish a relationship like that, where you have a trusted provider and they're going to work with you, absolutely. That's a wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, great. So today has been great. I want to thank you guys again for joining us on this month Childcare Chat, horror stories, workers' comp. Before we close out, do you have any closing remarks, Sam? Do you have anything that you want to say before we close out?
So there was one, it's not work related, but there is a horror story that one of my insurance companies shared with me. I was kind of picking their brain on the worst claims that they've ever seen. And I was told to wait so that I could get your initial reaction. But a child fight club, a provider was running a child fight club in their basement.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Child fight club in the basement.
A child fight
I have so
club?
many questions. A child fight club.
Where they was
My
fighting.
goodness.
Like the movie?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Like the movie, but with children.
Video
Like, I
and
have so many questions.
Oh my gosh. Seriously.
That was crazy.
People are nuts.
That-
I'm telling you.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
I
That
would
is
say the-
insane. A child fight club. There is no way.
No.
Oh my god, that's a whole liability waiting to happen.
Yes.
Oh, it was. And it made it to the liability insurer. They also shared the worst claim that they've ever seen was with an art class. One of the teachers was, the assignment was to blow paint through a straw, or blow through a straw, and it would, spread the paint around on the plate. And the teacher was supposed to find a non-toxic solution to mix it with, and accidentally grabbed a soap solution from under the sink instead, and it burned a hole in a child's esophagus.
Wow.
So that was a liability claim that completely depleted not only the liability policy limits, but also the umbrella.
Wow. That's truly a horror story. That is truly a horror story.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Next year, we'll have to do another session on liability lawsuits and the horror stories, because those are a lot juicier.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, Kristen, I want to thank you for joining us on this month Childcare Live. And for all of our viewers who watching live, you're going to come back and watch the replay. I want to just thank you for taking this opportunity. But just share the video with your friends, because we're on a mission at National Childcare Owners Association to help one childcare center at a time to improve the structure and the quality of services that they provide. And if you want to be a part of that mission, I want you to go to ncoa.org to find out more information, to join our organization so you can be a part. And again, thank everybody for listening, and I'll see you guys next month on next month Childcare Chat. Have a great day.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Enjoy your Halloween.
Thank you. Bye, guys.